Once, there was a girl named Emily. She is a redhead, freckled-faced girl who loved life and everything it had to offer. One day, she decided to take a road trip across the country. She had always been fascinated by the idea of exploring new places and meeting new people. So she called up her best friend Chloe and asked her if she wanted to come along. Chloe is normally down for whatever crazy idea Emily has. After all, they shared similar interests. After hearing about the road trip, Chloe was down for that too. They decided to go that very weekend. Emily would drive her car. It was more reliable than Chloe's car. Emily had a bright red Jeep with four-wheel drive built for rough terrain, and Chloe's beat-up old Kia that was handed down from her mom actually needed new tires already. It was now Saturday morning, and Emily drove by Chloe's apartment to pick her up. But she realized Chloe was in bad shape after getting a stomach bug and throwing up all night. A road trip was the last thing she wanted to do. Emily suggested putting off the trip, but Chloe insisted Emily go through with it, as she knew how excited Emily was to go. It was all she talked about all week. The first stop Emily made was right outside the city limits. She pulled off to the side of the road where there was a large open field. It was a bright and sunny day with a gentle wind. Emily thought this is perfect for a quick stretch of the legs and a bite. The day was perfect except for the fact that Chloe wasn't there. As it got darker, Emily decided to pull over at a gas station to use the facilities and get some much-needed shut-eye. The next morning started on a similar note, bright and sunny with the wind blowing her red curls as she drove. She made another stop at a diner to grab some lunch. This diner was just like the ones she had seen on TV before. Everything was as she pictured it would be. She snapped a quick pic and sent it to Chloe. Chloe replied with a smiling emoji and stated how she wished she wasn't skipping the trip, but is glad Emily was enjoying her time. As she drove through the winding roads of the countryside, she suddenly found herself lost and turned around. The GPS on her phone had stopped working, and she had no idea where she was. As she continued driving, she stumbled upon a small town that seemed to be frozen in time. The buildings were old and decrepit, and there was an eerie silence that hung in the air. Emily felt a chill run down her spine as she drove through the deserted streets. The main street was void of cars except for Emily's and an old Chevy truck that seemed to have seen better days. She began to wonder if the town was even occupied. As she pulled over to take a look at her phone to see if she could reboot it to get the GPS to start working again, a stranger came up to her passenger door. It startled Emily and she gasped. She saw that it was an old man. His smile looked creepy as most of his teeth were missing, and the ones that were left had a yellow-orange stain on them. His clothes had holes and were tattered. The old man asked, "Are you lost, Missy?" Emily, being freaked out, wasn't sure how to reply, so she quickly pulled off the curb. As she searched for a way out of the town, she noticed that the people who lived there were all staring at her with blank expressions. They seemed to be hiding something, and Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Thinking about how wonderful the day had started, Emily was beginning to think how it's currently going, and that old man. What did he want from her? At least he wasn't as standoffish like the others she drove past. No one else seemed to want to interact with her, just distant stares from behind various openings and objects. As the sun began to set, Emily realized that she was trapped in the town. She tried to leave, but every road seemed to lead her back to the same place. She was alone and scared, with no idea how to escape, and now looking at her dash, the gas needle is now showing below quarter tank, and driving around in circles wasn't helping. Emily recalled passing a large building that seemed to be some old church or schoolhouse, and so she made her way over. She figured no one should be there overnight. Parking off to the side of the structure, she hoped no one would notice her. It was hard for Emily to sleep that night. She kept hearing weird noises that sounded like shrieking and scratching outside her vehicle. Her imagination started to go wild, and she imagined they were all closing in on her. The sound of trees and bushes rustling and the occasional tumbleweed scraping by certainly didn't help. The morning could not have arrived sooner. As the day broke, Emily darted up and searched around her vehicle to see what was out there. A new panic sat in as she saw her Jeep outlined on the ground. Emily tried her phone again, but it wasn't even turning on at this point. Just as she was about to give up hope, she stumbled upon the old man who gave her an old, dusty book. The book was called Facts of the Slucktown District, and it contained a map of the town. Emily realized that there was a hidden tunnel that led out of the town. With renewed hope, she set out to find the tunnel and escape the creepy small town. After a long and treacherous journey between some alleyways, Emily ended up behind the town's water plant. Finally, she found the entrance to the tunnel and made her way out of the town. She began to wonder about the old man, and if he also was trapped there, and why didn't he escape if he knew the way out? She never forgot the eerie feeling that had haunted her during her time there. And why was her Jeep outlined? Were they planning something? She knew one thing. She never wants to return to that creepy small town ever again.